Welcome to Edulastic Remote and Hybrid Learning. We are so glad that you're joining us today for part of our Teacher Talk series. We have a great panel of educators that will be sharing their successes and tips for using Edulastic in remote and hybrid learning. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. We're lucky to have three wonderful teachers with us today, one of which pre-recorded her presentation that will be presenting on how they use Edulastic in remote and hybrid instruction. As a reminder, there will be time at the end at the end of all the presentations to ask any questions to our presenters. First up, we have Celia Castellanos. This year, Celia began her role as a linked learning instructional coach in California. She is currently supporting teachers at 6 school locations. Prior to this role, she was the lead math teacher. She has over 9 years of experience teaching middle school math. She's going to discuss how the features offered in Edulastic allow her to reduce student stress and anxiety during remote learning. Now I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lauren. Can we move to the next slide, please? And I actually started my journey with Edulastic and using Edulastic a few years ago, probably around 4 years ago. And I first started using it because I wanted to give my students that SBAC experience where they were taking assessments that were not just your typical multiple choice assessments, and Edulastic really empowered me to do that. But during the pandemic and during remote and distance learning, I also realized that it really helped me address social emotional learning and reduce student stress and anxiety. There are great features within Edulastic that allow students to check their answer, to do automatic retakes and hints. The pictures that I have there are from assignments that I actually created. So the hint, you can customize it to give students that hint. Hints can be seen by students, or the students can hide them. So they choose when they need that hint, and not all students have to rely on that hint. It's really scaffold to those that need it. Similarly, the check answer, it allows students to go ahead and check their answer on the question that they're at before submitting the assignment. So especially the students that have doubts, that they're not sure if they're on the right track, it allows them to see, oh yes, I'm on the right track, or there's something that they need to rethink. Can we go to the next slide? And the other thing that I also looked at is this past year, I wasn't really using Edulastic as an assessment tool to take a test, the typical test per se. I was creating more performance assessments. I really love the feature for the playlist that Edulastic has because it really allowed me to create a learning experience. I'm not an expert in creating playlists. It's something that I'm still working on, but it really did allow me to create that learning experience for students online so that they could see what we were doing, the lesson that we were working on as a module that we could either go through synchronously or that they could work through asynchronously. In that way, really customize the work to what it was that they were needing to accomplish at whatever level they were at and at whatever time they were tuning in. These were some of the key features that I found during remote learning.
Thank you, Celia. That was great. It's great to see how you used Edulastic to focus on SEL and how Edulastic allowed you to communicate directly with students and help them ease their stresses. Next up, we have Denise Jameson. Denise is a 9th and 10th grade science teacher in California. She's going to discuss how Edulastic allowed her to differentiate her instruction and work with students in real time, whether they were in the classroom or at home. You're up, Denise.
All right, good morning, or not good morning, but good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Let's see. So I'm going to talk about differentiated instruction. I have been teaching for 4 years now, teaching mostly science in the high school classroom, so 9th and 10th graders. And so I started using Edulastic last year, but it really helped me blossom as an educator, especially with teachers these days. They're asking us to do more with less time. I'm sure you all can relate to that. And Edulastic is one of those amazing opportunities that we can use. It's an amazing tool for a teacher to give students an opportunity, for all students, the opportunity to learn no matter where they're at. And so again, last year I taught what we call a satellite hybrid. So I was teaching students in the classroom simultaneously with students online, and they switched back and forth. And so because of that, I couldn't keep changing lessons. It had to be the same lesson. So with Edulastic, you're able to keep it all the same lesson. There's no need to create a lesson for those kids that are in the classroom and then the kids that are at home. This allows you a real-time opportunity to work with those students. Okay. You can see there in the screen, I just did a little screenshot of a Venn diagram, something that you would use in the classroom, and then we could do the same thing on Edulastic. So it was very easy to use. I could have students maybe do this on a sheet of paper if they were in the classroom, or I could have them do it online for Edulastic. And there was no gap. So I was able to let the students work all together. Students can still share out, whether they're in the classroom or whether they're at home. They were able to communicate with each other. And as you all know, right now, students absolutely need to communicate more, especially I teach science. And so it's critical that students share out and talk about, what they are doing there. All right, so the real-time aspect of Edulastic, wherever the students are, in the classroom, at home, I can see what they're doing real time. They can ask questions and they can say, Miss, I'm on question number 3. Can you help me? And sometimes when we switch up questions on test, sometimes number 3 for one student isn't the same as number 3 for another student. And because of this real-time aspect, I can look and say, hey, this is where you're at. You're doing a matching, and this is kind of a clarification that you need. Then also Edulastic is paired with GoGuardian, and they're giving us a lot of opportunities as teachers to be able to go in and see what the students are doing. It's not helicoptering, but it really is helping those students stay engaged, stay on task, and really get their work done. Especially again, in a technology age where there's so many things going on, there's so many things for students to get distracted with. At least we're able to, keep them on track, get them honed in, and really help those students out. I think I have one more slide. Right. Work smarter, not harder. As educators, we want to do a lot. We want to be there for our students. And we're asked to do a lot more these days. This is being efficient with your time. This is able to work for many, many things and help you to assimilate information. I know our administration always wants to see, how are your students doing? How are your students doing? Or even as, a teacher, you want to see exactly where they're at, where they're struggling. And there's really easy reports to combine or to get information from to help your students. So overall, Edulastic is just a great opportunity, a great tool for teachers to work with their students, whether they're at home, whether they're in the classroom, and be able to keep everybody on the same page and keep everybody moving forward. And that's me.
Work smarter, not harder. I love that. It's so important to make the most out of our time, especially during remote, hybrid classroom instruction. There's definitely been a lot of curveballs thrown at you the past 18 months or so. Well, thank you so much, Denise. I love hearing how Edulastic helped make it easy for you to differentiate your lessons to meet your students' needs, regardless of whether they were in the classroom or at home. Being able to participate in the lesson regardless of where they were is so helpful in classroom instruction. And last but not least, we have Melissa Rothe. Unfortunately, Melissa is unable to join us live tonight. However, she pre-recorded her presentation in advance. Melissa is a 6th to 12th grade math teacher in North Dakota. She's going to share her experience using Edulastic for remote and hybrid learning. I'm going to turn on her recording now. She'll kick off her presentation with a self-introduction as well.
Hello everyone, I am Melissa Rothe and I am a math teacher from North Dakota. I live in a small town north of Bismarck, North Dakota. I am currently in my 7th year of teaching math, and this is my 2nd year using Edulastic. Last year we had a hybrid setting for the first semester, and this year we are fortunate enough to be face-to-face. I used Edulastic last year and this year, and I plan to continue to use it. Things I love about Edulastic, especially while I was in a hybrid situation, was I could see real-time data, whether the students were in my classroom, in study hall, or on their couch. I was able to look at the questions that were most commonly wrong, and I could then tailor my instruction or my help to those students or those questions that they were struggling with. Especially with math, students tend to miss a negative, or they mistype something slightly and then it is wrong. So I was able to see exactly what students were typing, and just be able to work one-on-one with those students. Typically, if a student was at home, I would be on a Google Meet at the beginning of class, and so I was able to stay on the Google Meet and work with the students that way. I did not use the Meet feature in Edulastic, but it was easy enough for me to toggle between two screens. I really liked the integration of math tools also because I was able to put graphs and more math specific type questions in my assignments, and students were able to do them at home. It also allowed me to not share paper with students during the COVID crisis. So this is a screenshot that I have of my current class. They are working on equations of parallel and perpendicular lines, and I have 3 students that have started this assignment, and I'm easily able to see that question 11, some students are struggling, and I'm also able to see that after 12 they didn't get to it, whether that was they didn't have enough time or whatever that situation might be. I'm able to go look exactly at each question. So the student here, Magenta Car, I was able to look straight at her answers, and I can see that on question 19, she does not have her line going in the right direction. Question 20, she looks like she's in the right area, but we still need to figure out what is going on. It is very helpful to see those things because if we were doing a paper and pencil assignment, I would not be able to know those things right away, and I am able to see these quickly. Another student was working on one-step equations, and so I could see that they answered their question incorrectly, and so I could see that potentially they mistyped their answer, or I could work with them in case they didn't know their multiplication facts. One premium feature that I really enjoy for math is the check answer button. The check answer just allows students to go through and click the check answer to see if they are right before they ask me. And that is very helpful for when I am working with students or I'm working one-on-one with a group, and students don't have to interrupt me while I am working with other individuals. Some of the other things I really enjoy about Edulastic is the wide range of questions and test banks. I have been able to find a ton of questions and pre-made tests. I also have created my own tests and questions, or I have taken other test banks and modified them to meet the needs of what I need. And then I also am front loading my work so I can quickly get the grade and see the data without doing all of the correcting. I also like Edulastic for the timestamps and the time amount spent on the assignment. I really like these so students cannot argue with me, and I can see how long it is taking them to be on an assignment. I also like looking at how long it's taking students to answer each question so that I know if one is super difficult or if it is a multiple choice, if they are just guessing, or if they are, sometimes I can tell that they potentially zoned out as they were looking at that question, or in some of my students, they leave their assignment open and so it potentially is counting time while the tab is open, but they're not actively working on that problem. Edulastic is a great tool and I plan to continue to use it. If you have any questions or want to discuss something I talked about today any further, please contact me at my email. And thank you for joining me today on this presentation. Have a great day.
Even though Melissa couldn't join us live this evening, we're so glad that she was able to pre-record this so she could participate. She gives great insight into her experience using Edulastic during remote learning. It really helped her to differentiate her instruction to meet her students' needs. Plus, the real-time data gave her live results to see where students were excelling or struggling. And now we're going to open up to a remote and hybrid learning questions or and a discussion. And before we move forward with that, I just want to thank you so much to all of our presenters for their wonderful presentations today. This event seriously couldn't have been completed without you. So thank you so much for your preparation and for joining us today to present live. And now I'm going to invite Celia and Denise to turn on their cameras so we can jump into our discussion and any questions that come up in the chat. One thing that I did see come up a few times in chat was the redirect feature. I know we briefly touched on this. If you want to discuss a little bit more in depth about how you've used the redirect feature, or if you used it during remote or hybrid instruction.
I can touch on that. So the redirect, you have students, so if you're giving an assessment and you tell the students to take the test, you can use the redirect in a couple of ways. So you can kind of give that to them as kind of like a little reminder, like, hey, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to be. Also, though, the redirect is really nice if you have students that are absent. You can just go right back to redirect to kind of help them find their missing assessments so that they can take it. So it's a good tool to quickly get students back on track.
And I'll just go ahead and add, I was really using the redirect when I was in person, because it was also a great tool for those students that want to just go ahead and put random answers and submit, to force them to go ahead and really try the assessment. And that's how I was using it. So students realize that, oh, just because they tell me they're done, that doesn't mean that I'm going to let them go and waste the rest of the period, that I was going to look at what it is that they needed to work on, give them some questions and reopen it for them. So it started to teach students to just go ahead and try from the get-go, instead of having them try to work through an assessment really quickly, turn it in with random answers, and then play for the rest of the period. During remote, what I was doing is students would actually go ahead and either ask me to redirect things during synchronous sessions, or they were asking me to redirect assignments to them through text messages, emails, and we were communicating that way. And it was really helpful, especially for the ones that were having tech issues, because some parents would contact me and say, my student was having technical issues, our internet went out and the assignment closed, can it get reopened? So in that sense, it really helped to just alleviate some of their stress and let them know yeah, you can still work on this. I understand that there's tech issues and this is not the end, like here's another opportunity.
Technology is great when it works and not so great when it doesn't work. So I'm glad that redirect feature really helped you on that situation as well. Great to hear. And during the remote and hybrid instruction, obviously, if the kids were home during completely remote, there was no paper or pencil at all that they were able to hand in to you. Did you find yourself using a certain question types more than others that allowed kids to show their work? I know the science and math teacher here, so curious to see what you guys have to say.
Scratchpad became my friend because I was able to see what students were doing, and it was surprising how many more students were using that feature of the Scratchpad to show me their work.
Did you find yourself using the graphing functions at all either?
I was using the graphing functions even in the classroom. What I did learn remote with the graphing function is that because we were using Desmos more, students were more used to the online graphing, and they actually formed better skills than when we were using paper and pencil in the classroom. And that really surprised me. And I was expecting completely the opposite to happen. So I was using the graphing functions. I was also using the equation, the multi-question feature to create equations where students were able to show me step by step. And in that sense, give them that opportunity to be able to show me the steps in an equation instead of just giving me the final solution.
Great, that's certainly helpful. Anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so in this, I saw this in the chat. Somebody was asking about NGSS. I love the questions with Edulastic because I am able to use more NGSS friendly, so the new generation science standards for the questions. So we want students to think. We're really going away from this A, B, or C kind of choice. And so I like that there's more questions that they can see, they can drag and drop, they can explain. And Edulastic has a great set of NGSS built questions already. I believe it's called Edulastic Creators, or there's a group of Edulastic people that go in and make sure that the questions are really good questions and they are NGSS based. And so they've been kind of proven, if you will, to be really good NGSS questions. And Edulastic just leans into having really good questions that allow students to think more versus and work through it, like the steps, more so than other programs.
Awesome. We obviously love hearing that. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions that came through. Please feel free to post questions you have in the Q&A box that we can be sure to get to them.
Yeah, there's a question from Mitzi. Can I upload a Google form and have Edulastic read the information, or do I have to type it all into an Edulastic assessment, or does it have to be a PDF? So I think what Mitzi is talking about here is Snap Quiz, or what Mitzi might be looking for. Celia and Denise, do either of you have experience with Snap Quiz? Or okay.
I don't, but I have uploaded I've uploaded a PDF before to Edulastic, so that is definitely capable. I don't think it's as customizable when you do that though. So you do have to write them in. Yes, it's a little bit more work, but you get to customize it and include different ways to ask the question. So there's pros and cons to that.
So my experience has been kind of what Denise just mentioned. When I uploaded the PDF, it kind of locked me into a certain type of question type. And sometimes that's not necessarily what I was thinking about. So it was easier for me just to start from scratch, which is why I usually didn't use that function.
Yeah, I think you guys are super users. So you like having all those features that come with the classic Edulastic assessments and all those question types. The Snap Quiz assessments, they have, I think you can choose from between 5 and 10 different question types. It's easy for someone who just wants to quickly upload something, get it online, make it auto-graded, and then send it to their students. But if you want the complexity and the ability to reuse questions, you'll want to add it to a standard traditional Edulastic assessment style. Neri was asking about specific features that have been most helpful for hybrid learning.
The real-time aspect of Edulastic is so great, because you need to work with those kids, especially on the hybrid aspect. You want to see what they're doing. You want to see how they're thinking. And so to me, that was a game changer. Just being able to have that, because like I said, you're not always going to see your kids, but at least if you can kind of see what they're doing, then they feel like they're in the classroom. And that actually leans to the social emotional part, because they feel connected to the classroom. And so they'll want to do more if they know that the teacher's actually, watching and knowing that they're taking part in it. So to me, that was a game changer.
I love how you're both connecting so much this to the SEL part. That's such an important aspect and piece of this. Even before COVID, and we know how much of an impact it had on students, especially those younger grades who never been in a classroom before, and now they're in front of a computer screen, or those that are used to the classroom and are in front of a computer screen. So I think that is a great benefit that you're discussing about. And Celia, I think I saw you going to jump in.
Yes, I was going to say, I honestly really love the variety of question features. I have not found another online assessment tool that allows me to have that variety that Edulastic allows for. And that has been really, really empowering as a teacher, because it allows me to assess my students in a multitude of ways and not just in one manner. I really like how I can combine having students complete a mathematical task and then give me their math reasoning with an explanation box. And then I was thrilled when the playlist feature was released, because those playlists, I think, really have that power of taking teaching to the next level, especially when we're talking about remote and hybrid. And Lauren, I was just going to jump in and add, because I did notice that someone asked if it's available for other subjects. So I was not only teaching math, I was also using technology. And I was using this for the technology class as well, in order to assess different knowledge skills when we're talking about technology. One of my favorite ones that I was able to create was an assessment to assess students' knowledge of the tools in Photoshop and what those tools do. So it really does lend itself to other subjects as well.
That's so cool. Both of you bring such a variety of aspects and different teaching scenarios, and it's made tonight so special and so engaging and helpful and informative for those that are on the line tonight.
Someone's asking Gilbert's asking, how do I look for math problems by standard?
All right, so here I'm logged in as a teacher. So you go into the test bank. On the left side here, you can filter by grades or by subject or by standard. So if we said math, and you can put in whatever grades you're teaching, say 7th grade math, and then you can filter math Common Core.
And I just answer a question that I was seeing on there about people that haven't used Edulastic before. So those of you that are worried about using or nervous about using Edulastic, I'm only a 2nd year user. I have grown immensely in 2 years with Edulastic. It's so easy to use. It's very teacher friendly. And there's a lot of things that just lead you to trying new things and finding new products, or not products, but finding new questions, finding different ways of doing things. I'm still learning all the time. It's actually fun. My head doesn't hurt as bad when I use this program, because it's easier to find. And so I would say if you're thinking about it, just go and play with Edulastic and really just dive into it, because it really opens a lot of doors. So I saw that question and I just kind of wanted to go there.
Thank you for jumping in. I appreciate it. It's always great to hear how easy and how simple it is to jump right into Edulastic and get used to all the benefits that it offers. Vina asked if you can use it in the classroom. Well, we have 2 great educators online who also have experience using Edulastic in the classroom. So if you want to share some of your maybe differences or experience that you have from using it in the classroom versus hybrid and remote learning? That'd be great.
Okay, most of my use of it was in the classroom. I think the in the classroom experience outweighs the out of the classroom experience right now. But I realized that having used it in the classroom, it was different remote, but all of the benefits kind of transferred. And the fact that I didn't start using it while it was remote, it just made it easier for me to really adapt. Going backwards, it would make it even easier, because I think that while I was in the classroom, one of the harder challenges was training my students to understand how Edulastic was working. And being out of the classroom, all of us were kind of put into this environment where we were all kind of forced to do that with students. So I do think that going from remote hybrid to in the classroom would be a lot easier to transition. In the classroom, that live aspect that Denise was talking about was incredibly valuable. It really allowed me to hold my students accountable to what they were doing and make sure that they stayed engaged during an assessment. And it really helped me to push students in terms of coming from a growth mindset type of mentality, and work towards getting them to stop having fixed mindsets. So in that sense, it helped in that way. But it was really those features that Denise was sharing, where it shows you the live statistics of students, and something that I would see happen a lot in the classroom, because I wouldn't go ahead and use the pseudonyms. So students would see their names, and I would project that into on the front of the classroom. Students would see that they were getting like the little green squares and the little red squares and the little yellow squares. And they were proactively trying to work more on those problems that they saw that they were getting wrong. And they were checking their work, and that helped in that sense.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, definitely I'm still using it as assessments. I want to expand more. Like I said, I'm learning all the time, but for bell ringers or exit tickets, it's a great way to have that. In my school, we are a one-to-one campus, so every student has a iPad. So they're able to do that. They still do a lot of hands-on, but with the hands-on, it really marries well with Edulastic, because I can take whatever they're doing, like I showed you guys earlier, that Venn diagram that they would do in person, and then they would replicate that online. And so I use both. I am a firm believer that students not only need tech, but we need to be using our hands, and we need to draw pictures and all that good stuff. But with Edulastic, you can do that. The scratch paper, there's a lot of different products on there. There's the ruler, there is a compass. And so there's a lot of things that, again, I use in the classroom. Also, my school, we have a PLC, a professional learning community, where we are sharing our information. So I think that was a question somebody was asking. I can create a test and I can share that with the rest of my group, who is all teaching the same class. And we can kind of look at where our students are at. And we can share that out with whoever needs to see that as well. So I'm using it, hybrid, in class, simultaneously, all of the above. So.
Thank you so much for both of your insight on that. It's great to see how Edulastic is so versatile, both in the classroom, remote, hybrid, how flexible it is to help you bring differentiation into your classrooms, whether you're at home on Zoom or in the classroom instructing those students live in front of you.
Hey, Lauren, can I interrupt just for 1 second?
Yeah,
So it's even been longer for me since I've been in the classroom, but I used Edulastic for bell ringers and exit tickets. And that was the thing, was like writing one question at 8 o'clock when class started at 8:05 was so easy, so that I had a bell ringer. And then honestly at 8:30, as I was writing an exit ticket that then was used at 8:50, again, really easy. But it was so much better than handing out Post-it notes, because I got real information in terms of what students were selecting that was right and what was wrong, relative to just a pile of Post-it notes as I was this many kids got it right, this many kids got it wrong, but there was no nuances to that information. So that was my big success, was like, oh, look, I now know who's getting it wrong, and I know what they're selecting when they're getting it wrong. And that really allowed me to make changes. And then I started using it as bell ringers mid-lesson checks, and then exit tickets. And then it, it got out of hand after that.
We all love that live data, so we know whether we need to step back and reteach the concept that just was taught, or if we're ready to move forward and get everyone on the next level. Thanks, Mike, for that great insight as well. Appreciate it.